Okay, so for this review, we're going to look at experiment. So if you can open your experiment tab, I'm not going to write it, you're going to kind of hear me explain it. And so you'll copy it down and then kind of listen to me. And so remember some important things is that we're going to, okay, so remember experimental design. It's really important to control what you can, and then you randomize everything else. And so we need to use this block design. Some of you like to write it in paragraph form, but it's harder to read and there's a good chance you're going to miss something. Remember, you put the subjects in the first box as specific as possible, and then you split them into the different treatment groups. Make sure somewhere it says randomly assigned here, or it says randomly assigned in each box. You describe each treatment clearly and how many people are in each treatment, and if one group has a placebo, you explain it in the other one. And then right here, this is the response variable, and this is where you specifically describe what will be compared. Remember, underneath, you need to talk about whether things are blocked, and if they're blocked, what did you block by? Was it single-blinded, double-blinded? Remember, almost everything is single-blinded. Double-blinded is when the person participates, don't know whether they have the placebo or the actual pill. Then you need to say whether it's placebo-controlled and describe the length of the treatment. If you block something, you essentially will have this twice. So there was a problem where we blocked once by broken bones, and so broken bones got cast in a pill, or broken bones just got cast in placebo. And then we had fractures, which was the same thing again, just repeated down below. So blocking, you write the same thing twice. Okay. Remember, the purpose of blocking is it helps reduce variability. And then remember, confounding variables. This is where the effect of one variable on a response cannot be separated from the effect of the factor being tested. So there's two things that people get confused. We get confused lurking variables and confounding variables. A lurking variable is something that affects two variables, so like a scatter plot, and a confounding variable affects one thing. So this is, confounding is from experiments. Okay, so then we have some different vocabulary I wanted to just make sure we go over again. Remember, an experimental unit is the individual or object that receives treatment. Then you have a factor, which is the explanatory variable of what's being tested. And then the level of the factor is the specific value. So if you have a problem where you're looking at exercise, and there's 3 different levels, they exercise 7 days a week, 5 days a week, 3 days a week, there's one factor, 3 levels. The response variable is what you're trying to measure with the experiment. The treatment is actually the experiment condition applied. So if you're doing something that's a diet pill plus exercise, there's 2 factors, the diet pill and the exercise, but the treatment is how the different combinations are. So remember, the control group is the group that you use to compare the factor of effectiveness. It doesn't necessarily have to be a placebo, but a lot of times it is. Remember, placebo is just a sugar pill. It's used so that people don't have the placebo effect. There's 2 types of blinding. Remember, blinding is subjects are not aware of the treatment, and double blinding is when the subject and the evaluators don't know what's going on. And then there's kind of 4 different principles for experiments. Remember, you have to try to control everything you can. You have to replicate it, which means you replicate it with as many subjects as possible and possibly doing the experiment again. You want to try and randomize, and randomization is done by putting people into groups randomly. And blocking is not required, but if you can block, you want to block. Because if you think something's going to affect the results, you need to block it. So I went through this fast. Something about actually writing it down also will help you, so hopefully you paused the video and wrote the things down also so you have a reference.